know that whatever I bring in, a third of that,
Yes.
25, 30%, somewhere in there, it's automatically moving to the savings account for taxes. Don't have to see it. And then I have to do that because if I see the money in my account, I'm just like, ooh, I
Yes.
could go spend this because I like things.
Yeah.
And I like to buy things that, dopamine of just new stuff is so much fun. So I have to be careful, and I have to put away the tax stuff so I don't dip into that tax money. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Wisdom and the Tangents podcast. I am your host, John Mansfield. If you are new here, welcome. This is a place for photographers and creative entrepreneurs, a place to build your business, grow your community, and create the lifestyle you always dreamed of. If you're not new around here and you're an oldie but a goodie, welcome back. I got another great episode, another great conversation today. We're like, as you're listening to this, we are deep in the heart of tax season, which you could be like, you know what? I've already done mine. We're so good. Or you could be like, yeah, thanks for reminding me. I need to get on that this week. But either way, numbers are something. I mean, if you know anything about me, you probably know that I like coffee. But if you know other things about me, you probably know that I'm a numbers guy. I like numbers. They come easily. And I know that is not the case for everyone, especially talking to a lot of you in DMs and in groups and stuff, that numbers don't always come the easiest for creatives, which is why I want to bring on professionals. So we are talking all about numbers today, what numbers you should be keeping track of, what numbers you need to know about your business, and not just know about your business, but also how you can read those numbers and read the story that those numbers are telling you, which is where my guest comes in, Samantha Eck. She is the powerhouse behind Firestorm Finance. She's got years and years of experience in finances from the corporate side, which she was in for years, to running her own two different creative businesses. So she's got a lot of experience for us, and we're just going to get into that conversation right now. Here is my conversation with Samantha Eck. We're chatting today about numbers, and I love these shows. I love these topics. One, because I'm like a numbers person. I was that kid that, like, there was a party trick that my parents would, anytime we were in like a gathering or something, I was like 10 or 11 years old, and they would just be like, John, our son, he can tell you the numeric value of your name if you just tell him how you spell your name. And then I'd be like, in my head, I would figure out like, okay, Samantha, S is the 19th letter of the alphabet. A is 1, so that's 20. And then like M is 13. And just like, I would add it up in my head and be like, your numeric value is 47. And that was like my thing. So numbers have always come very natural to me, but I know that is not the same for a lot of creatives. And which I know that you know that too, because like that is your whole deal of like helping creatives with numbers, and like, what even are the numbers in your business telling you, and being able to read those. So very excited about this topic. Welcome to the show, Samantha. I'm sorry, I'm just like babbling, but welcome to the show.
No, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Yay. Well, I'm very excited to have you, obviously. I just can't stop talking. It's also been like a couple weeks since I've recorded. I did a lot of batch recording in like the end of January, and now it's like mid-February. No, It's March. It is March. It is St. Patrick's Day today. I got to wear my one green shirt. I save it for this time every year. But yeah, it's been a minute since I've like talked. So I'm sorry to the listeners. I'm just going to be talking a lot. But yeah, Samantha, could you give us a little background about like what you do? I already kind of mentioned that you like help creatives with figuring out their numbers and everything,
Yeah.
but a little bit more deep dive into that.
Yeah. So my name is Samantha Eck. I'm a bookkeeper for creatives. I'm originally from Canada, and I moved to Texas in 2020, where a couple of years after working corporately, I just decided I didn't want to work for a corporation anymore. I really wanted to help smaller businesses. And so I just really dove into helping other businesses understand their numbers because I realized it's such an uneducated space. I don't really teach you a lot of this stuff in school. Like they don't teach you how to run a business. They don't teach you what to look at for numbers with your business. So,
No,
yeah,
they really don't.
they don't. And it's just like you're expected to know all of these things when you start a business, and there's not enough resources out there to really help you get your feet up. So I'm like, someone needs to help these people.
Yeah. And then here comes you. You're just like, I will be that person. I can help.
Yes.
No, I love that. Yeah, it is. It is very like it's so easy to start a business, and especially with just like I'm a photographer, so like starting a photography business is like you can just pick up a camera, take some pictures of people, and then they will pay you. And like that is that. I mean, that's really how I started my business. I was like, oh, people want to pay me for this.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah, I'll do it. And then it was learning. Oh, I have to like. There are taxes involved with this. There are there's bookkeeping and things, and I have to like actually figure out: am I making a profit on my sessions, or is $50 a session going to cut it? And spoiler alert, it is not. For most people, it did not work for me. And I was like, I should probably up my prices. But no, I love that you have that business where you step in and kind of fill that gap of knowledge for people with that, and your podcast as well.
Yes. Absolutely. And I love yapping about it, honestly, because it's just, there's so much to touch on. Everybody's like, oh, how do you keep coming up with content? And I'm like, there's so many different aspects of bookkeeping that, and numbers and financial analysis that you could just talk about it forever because there's always something new about it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Things changing just like in the world
Yeah.
change your numbers and all of that. And then also like there's so many like little details that's just like I could spend 40 minutes on this one detail just like helping you out with stuff. So no, I love that. It's really interesting like starting a podcast, because I remember starting this one and being like, man, I was told you should like figure out at least like 30 episodes, like
Yeah.
some topics that if you can talk about stuff for 30 episodes, you should be good. And now like nearing 250, I'm like, yeah, I'm never running out of stuff to talk about. I'm just like, we can always talk about things are always changing.
Yeah.
So a lot of stuff I'm like, okay, so like 4 years ago we talked about this, things have changed. So we're going to talk about how things have changed.
Yes.
But yeah, so for someone who's just like, Samantha, that's great. I don't know what numbers you're talking about when we're talking about like what story are your numbers telling you?
Yes.
What numbers should we be looking at? What should we like be going through and like keeping track of things, or is this just like looking at a CRM of like, okay, this is cool?
Yeah, for sure. That's a great question. I have 4 specific numbers I always like to tell anybody to look at. So obviously the first one is revenue. Revenue is a very important number, obviously, because that's how much you're bringing in, but it's not the most important. And I like to remind people of that because they always see coaches or even, other photographers, things like that, people saying, hey, I made like 6 figures. I made 50K. I made this. It's only one side of the story. You don't know what their expenses are. You don't know everything that's going on behind the scenes. So Revenue's one of them. Obviously, your expense number, because you want to understand how much you're actually spending on things in your business. Is that the number you want to see? You know, if you're spending 8,000 of that $10,000 that you're bringing in every month, is that really what you want to be spending, or is that maybe something you want to take a step back and look at?
Yeah. With that, I always think of like that Schitt's Creek episode of just
Yes.
like, well, it's a write off. It's like, well, who's writing it off? And it's like, there's so many times that I'm just like, I could buy this. This is a tax write off. I'm like, yeah, but it's like cutting into my profits to just go
Yes.
buy the latest and greatest camera every time a new one comes out. It's like, I don't need to be spending that thousands of dollars, even though it's in the bank. It's like, if you're spending 8,000 of that 10,000 that you're making,
Yep.
is that a profitable business? Are you actually moving forward? Is that 2,000 enough for you to keep the lights on and keep editing and give
Yes.
yourself some sanity uh, as you're going through the day?
Yeah, and I mean that's something that I really like talk about as well, like in a lot of detail. A lot of people are like, "Oh, you need a tax strategist. You need a tax strategist," but a lot of tax strategies are spend that money, and I'm like, I don't think that's fair because, yeah, as business owners, yes, it sucks to pay taxes. Trust me, I don't want to pay taxes on money that I worked so hard to earn.
Right.
But at the same point, would you rather not have like additional money that you're not spending in these other areas? So I always like to talk about that with people. Like, don't just think about, hey, how can I save on taxes? Like, how can I cut back? When you're paying taxes, I want you to think about them in a positive manner. Yeah, it sucks, but you made money. So that's why you have to pay taxes.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. They're not great. We're
Yeah.
coming up on tax season as we record this. And like, as this goes live for everyone, it's probably right around tax day.
Yeah.
So this is fresh on everyone's mind of like all of these deductions and what can I write off because this giant number that I had when I just plugged in the amount of revenue that came in,
Yeah.
I don't want to pay all of that. And yeah, it is. I think that like I'm all about like mindsets and how we view things.
Yeah.
And yeah, whenever you're viewing taxes as something that's just like negative, you're always looking down on that. You're always just like, ugh, yeah, taxes
Yes.
again. I have to pay this, instead of just looking at it like, okay, well, I know that whatever I bring in, a third of that,
Yes.
25, 30%, somewhere in there, it's automatically moving to the savings account for
Yes.
taxes. Don't have to see it. And then you're like, I have to do that because if I see the money in my account, I'm just like, ooh, I could
Yes.
go spend this because I like things
Yeah.
and I like to buy things that, what is it? Dopamine of just new stuff is so much fun.
Yes.
So I have to be careful and I have to put away the tax stuff so I don't dip into that tax money.
Yeah.
But yeah, like reshaping the way that you're seeing taxes. It's like, okay, this is like to run a business, you have to pay taxes. This is, something that I get to pay because I have my own business and I
Yes.
am running this. It's like it gives you a completely different mindset when you're going toward all that. So I love that.
Yes, absolutely. And then the other two numbers that I like to think about, obviously, are your profit, because profit is the most important number. That's what you have after all your revenue and expenses are deducted. But aside from your profit, the other number that I always like to tell people to look at is what you want to pay yourself, because that's the foundation of everything. If
Yeah.
you are like, I need to bring in $5,500 a month, then you need to structure your pricing around that. You need to structure how much you're spending on expenses around that, just so that you can understand how much you need to bring in revenue. That is like the cornerstone foundation of everything that you need to look at, is how much you want to pay yourself as a business owner.
Yeah. Yeah. That was something that I ran into like the first year or two of my business, which the first year was I still had a 9 to 5 and I was like, this is going to be a building year for the business. I'm not going to make anything. I'm just pouring that into new gear, marketing, all of that. I think I made like $6,000 my first year. So it
Yeah.
was not a lot, but it was, it was a good amount, especially like at my 9 to 5, I was making like 25K a year. So that was a good portion. It's a
Yeah.
quarter of my annual salary. I was like, this is a good side gig. I like this. But yeah, like that was something that once I went full time, that was not a priority for me to look at what's my income, like me, John, my bank account,
Yeah.
what money am I going to be using for buying food and rent and all of that. And there were a few times that I was like, oh, I lost money on this gig.
Yeah.
I like the business made a little bit or just kind of like broke even, but I'm not getting anything and I'm just spending my time for free doing this.
Yes.
And I think that is something that is overlooked a lot when we're just like kind of don't know how to price ourselves and we're just looking around at the market around us. And we're like, I don't know, they charge $2,000, so I'll do like 1,800, and then people will pick me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Competitive pricing is such a big thing, I think, in every industry. People are like, oh, well, this person's pricing at this. I need to be less so that people come to me. But especially in today's day and age, people will come to you when they see your value, and they're not going to care about your price because they're going to see that you provide a service that they need and you do it really well.
Have you ever learned something that you feel like you learned way too late in life? I feel like that guy from Instagram who's like, here's something I didn't know until my 30s, because here is something I didn't know until I was in my 30s. Your savings account can actually make you money. And I'm not talking about like traditional savings accounts that are making you like 0.01 to 0.3% interest, just pennies. That's pennies, people. I'm talking 1.5 to over 4% interest. It doesn't sound like much, but if you're talking numbers, let's say you have like $5,000 in your savings account for taxes at the end of the year, that's the difference between accruing $15 and $200 extra dollars. Now, this is a high yield savings account. I've talked about these a few times on the podcast, but now I have partnered with SoFi to bring you a little extra money. Whenever you start your free high yield savings account through SoFi, they will deposit an extra $25 in there for you for free. That's literally free money. And yes, this high yield savings account is just like a normal savings account where you can access your money. You don't have to like wait for 7 to 10 business days until you can get anything out. It's a normal savings account, except you're making more money. So go to allheartphoto.com/SoFi. That's allheartphoto.com/SOFI and let your money make you money.
Okay, so you named off like those four that we need to be looking at. What is like, how can we read that? So if we're like, we've got those down, we're keeping track, we have a spreadsheet or something or whatever, we know those numbers, how can we like read them instead of just like, okay, numbers.
Yes.
I don't know now.
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, I always like to say, set up like a money date for yourself every month and make it fun. Like put on some music, grab wine, coffee, whatever your jam is, sit down, look at your numbers. And the way you do this is, first of all, you look at what you brought in and then you look at your expenses. And I always tell you, when you're looking at your expenses, look at them critically, but look at not just one month, look at the previous month as well and see kind of where things shifted month over month. So if you're looking at, you're looking at food because you're a big coffee person and you notice that last month you spent $10 on coffee, this month you spent $300. If that 300, you're looking at that and you're like, that was awesome. Like that helped me get my job done. I loved it. Great. But if you're looking at it, you're like, what the heck? I spent $300 on coffee. Like that's when you should really start to look at that and be like, hey, what does that tell me about myself? But what does that also tell me about my numbers? Okay. So I need to dial that back. I know that for next month. I want to make sure that I'm only spending $50 on coffee.
Yeah.
And then you're going to look at your profit and you're going to say, okay, well, I brought in $2,000. Was that enough to pay myself? No. Okay. So what needs to change? Like, what do I need to do to make that reflective of where I want to be? Well, you can either cut back on expenses or you can raise your prices. And those are usually your two options there. So really analyzing that. But that's how you start to read the story your numbers are trying to tell you, because you look at those and you start to fill in this narrative. Because a lot of people will just look at their profit at the end of the day or even the revenue and say, great, I made money. No big deal.
Mhm.
But if you're not looking at everything in between those two numbers, you're not seeing the full picture.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like whenever you start looking at that, you become the CEO of your business
Yeah.
instead of just someone who's working in it. Even though you are running it, it's like when you're the CEO, you're looking at like where are we spending? How can we cut back? What's a more efficient way of this? Or is there a tool out there that like maybe it's like $20 a month to get a subscription for
Yeah.
whatever tool, but it's going to be saving so many hours of work. You'd be able to like bring in way more than $20 a month. And like those kind of things, that is like, yeah, you don't know if you're not actually looking at your numbers. And yes, I have spent $300 in coffee in a month, and it is hard. It is. I'm doing better. I'm making more coffee at home. I made my coffee this morning instead of grabbing some on the way back from dropping off the kids. You know, it's right after spring break. I was like, this is my first time dropping off the kids again
Yeah.
at school. Let's go swing through Dutch Bros or something. And I did not. I made a financial decision to save that $6 and make my own at home. And like sometimes that is cool. Other times, like, yes, for me personally, $300 is a bit much for coffee.
Yeah.
But like, I also have like the Chick-fil-A app, and I am like a platinum member. And I was like, how many points do I need? Like, how many dollars? And I calculated how many dollars I had spent in all of 2024. I was like, that is alarming. But I do get some good perks now. But yeah, it's something that, like you said, you look at the numbers and you're like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm spending this much on gear, or I'm spending this much on, like I used to meet all of my couples at coffee shops, and I would
Yeah.
pay for my coffee and both of theirs. And sometimes we would spend, an hour or longer there. And it's like, that time I was spending, and then all of that coffee and meetings and like
Yes.
that, I know you can kind of like write off a portion of that for taxes, but still I was spending a lot. So I switched everything over to online meetings,
Yes.
and it was great. I was able to make mine at home for just a few cents, and they had theirs, and
Yes.
everything was good. And we still had a great time virtually. But yeah, like I think that's really great to like look at those things, even if it is as small as how many Starbucks item lines were popping up in my expenses. Maybe, am I, like you said, am I happy with this? Am I okay with that?
Yes.
Cool. Then let's keep going. If I'm not, and that is a little bit alarming, and I need to pull back a little bit, like my Chick-fil-A, I'm like, I need to pull back a little bit. I don't need to go
Yes.
there for breakfast and lunch. I'll just do one or the other.
Yes. And I think that's the point where you start to be proactive instead of reactive, because when you start to
Yeah.
look at that on a regular basis, now you're going to be like, every time you go to that Chick-fil-A, you're going to look at that and be like, do I really need this today? You're like,
Mhm.
probably not. Exactly what you said, where you were like, I'm just going to make coffee at home instead of going to Dutch Bros this morning.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, it's in your mind instead of just going. Like,
Yes.
a real life situation right now, I need to cancel my Zoom membership because like over the pandemic and everything, like I was doing the Zoom. I used to do a bunch of like online like group coaching. So I'd have a bunch of people in there for an hour or 3 sometimes. And now I do that on a different platform, and I don't need Zoom. And every month it's just like, hey, here's $17. And I'm like, I need to, like, I don't need this. I need to cancel this. I should probably, you know what? I'm going to write that down right here for future John after this conversation. But like, that's, if I wasn't looking at my numbers, I wouldn't know that.
Yes.
And there are some subscriptions that you may be paying for that you have no idea. that you're paying for them.
Yes. And honestly, it happens. Like, I've seen photographers that I've worked with who have had like 3 different Adobe accounts because they've gone through 3 different phases of business. Maybe they've changed their email. They don't realize that they've had an Adobe account. And now they're like, okay, wait, I'm paying for 3 of them. And I'm like, yeah, like we should probably cancel a couple of those because you don't need all of them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that happened to us with Apple TV, where we were just like, I think I had signed up for like a free trial or something. My wife also signed up, and then we were paying too for at least a couple months before we recognized it. We were like, oh, we should get rid of one of these.
Yes.
We don't need separate accounts.
Yes.
We can watch this together.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
It reminds me of those Rocket Money ads. I don't know if you've ever seen them. Where you're like, hey, do you know how many subscriptions you have? And then they're like, did you know you're paying for like 4 versions of Netflix? Oh.
Yeah, and everyone's like, I don't know, I have like maybe 6 subscriptions. They're like, you have 28 subscriptions. Yes. Yeah. And yeah, it is like, I mean, that's the whole business model for them really is. A lot of those subscriptions is, try this free deal, and then after 24 days, like the ones that are like the full month trial, those really get you because you forget about it. And then it's just like, bing, you get an email of like, hey, thanks for your one-time annual subscription. And then it's like, that was $400 and now it's gone. I better use this. But yeah, like that's stuff that you won't know if you're not looking at your expenses. So, okay. Awesome. What other stories can we find through looking like not only at our expenses and our income of like, is this business profitable? Do I need to raise my prices? If your income isn't the levels that you need to be, and then like the expenses that you just talked about, what else should we be looking at?
Yeah. So, I mean, like I mentioned, looking at it month over month, but if you have enough data, looking at your numbers on a year over year basis can really help as well, because a lot of people forget that businesses tend to trend. So, for example, with me, I've been in business 2 years. When I look at my business, I can see where I should be busy and where I should be kind of stagnant. Mm-hmm. And that's part of a story where you can start to say, okay, I know that in January, business is so incredibly slow. I need to make sure that any huge expenses that I have either come out in December when I'm really profitable, or in March when I start to pick back up. Because then instead of having this up, down, maybe having a negative net income month because you're dipping into cash that you have saved up, now you're evening everything out, and you should never have a negative net income month because you're using that data and that part of that story to really build your future business.
Yeah. No, I think that's so great because, like, especially like I'm in the wedding industry, and it is very roller coastery, especially here in Texas, where it's like the holidays. It's really busy, which is strange because a lot of the rest of the the U.S. especially, it is a slow time because it's cold or because people are busy. But in Texas, it's like, we finally have cool weather. Everyone get married. Like, we're not sweating because it's 98 degrees outside. We are going to get married. And like, that is busy time through like maybe mid-January, and then it kind of slows down. And like, I've been able to see that year after year, and like over the summer, late June through mid-August, crickets. Like every year, there's not a lot coming in. There's not a lot of weddings. Talking to venues, they're just like, that is the slow time. We try and do other events because no one wants to stand outside when it's 110 degrees in a tux. So like I can project for that. And like you said, like if you know that your spring is going to be really heavy and you're going to be bringing in a lot of income, squirrel some of that away for the dry months in the summer where you're not going to have as much. And you wouldn't know that if you're not looking at your numbers and like reading the story that they're telling you.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I love that. It's something like I feel like it's almost like a superpower of like leveling up like in a video game or something where you like reach
Yes.
a certain like XP level or something. It's just like your character like transforms and now has two guns or something. And it's just like it's an extra power to be able to see in your business these different things
Yeah.
instead of just I don't know, I'm posting on Instagram and I'm hoping for more. It's like I see these cycles of this is when I'm busy, this is when I'm not so busy. How
Yes.
can I like if I need to keep it like level, how can I do maybe more marketing or some different types of events or shoots or something that's maybe a little bit more popular in those months that your bread and butter is not as popular, and like
Yes.
that kind of stuff, it spurs your creativity of the business owner side of running a business. And yeah, it's just like it takes your business to a whole new level, and I love it. It feels like a superpower sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. And even if you are like, okay, I don't want to really do something else, I don't want to pivot right now, it's a great time to step back and work behind the scenes, because that's when you're not spending a lot of money, you're not going out, you're not doing a lot of stuff. So you can work on systems, you can work on processes, you can work on just making sure everything is more streamlined, connecting with people and networking. There's just so much that you can be doing in those slow periods. And like I always tell my clients, if you have that 3 to 6 months like stored away, there's no reason that you need to be panicking or worrying, because you're prepared, you're ready.
Yeah.
You can just start to work on that backside of your business. And then when things pick up again, you're ready to go. There's nothing holding you back.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's I mean it the peace of mind that you have is just it's so great because it's not just like I don't know where the next one's coming in from. And I
Yes.
don't know, am I gonna be okay next month? And like that kind of stress, I mean that I almost shut down my business in like 2019
Yep.
because of all of that. And I had gotten to the point where I was so busy, I really needed to hire someone else, but I didn't have the time to like vet people, and I didn't take the time when I was a little bit slower
Yeah.
to do that. And then I was just like, I'm just gonna do everything, and I'm working all the time and staying up till 2 a.m. and then waking up early to get the kids to school and just like all of this stuff. And I guess my kids weren't in school yet. My oldest was like 5, so but like still like there was so much to do. And yeah, it wore me out and it burnt me out to where now I have systems, I'm looking at my numbers, and I can actually like figure out what I need to do. And I
Yes.
can see because like the wedding industry has changed a ton in the
Yep.
last 2 to 3 years, where we had like a huge boom after COVID and everything was coming back and people were having weddings and everyone was like, yay, I'm making so much money. And then that boom slowed down. And now we're
Yes.
kind of back to before pandemic numbers, but they feel so slow because we were used to a lot and just going and going and going.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's something that like you can see what you're doing and what your business needs and like pivot and maybe especially like in those slower times, figure out if there's another stream of income that you could
Yes.
create and get off the ground to where whenever it is busy time again, you have two incomes coming in.
Yes. Yes. And that's something I talk about a lot too. Like, there's so many different things you could do now, digital products, that you could
Mhm.
host classes, you could do things like that, talking. So it's a really good idea to kind of analyze that when you are in those slow periods. Don't become stagnant. Like, don't just let things go. Figure out how to continue to grow your business, even when it feels like things are stalling.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't just be like, okay, well, it's slow. I'm just going to binge Netflix all day
Yes.
because I have time, which I am all for. Take 2 days.
Yes.
Take a couple days.
Yeah.
You've been working so hard and like you start to have a slow season. It's like, take some time to rest, but like set an end date for like, I need to binge this season this weekend because on Tuesday I'm getting back at it.
Yes.
Instead of just like, well, I finished this season and now I found this other show that I really like. And then you just, it's a whole wormhole of just shows. And I love TV and movies and just writing and cinematography, and I can get sucked in. I'm speaking to myself right now as I'm saying that. I'm like, don't just sit down and binge Severance. Like, you need to get out and go do something. But no, Samantha, this has been great. Are there any like last words you want to leave for the listeners of like how they can start implementing this? Maybe they're like, okay, that sounds great. Look at those numbers. How can I organize that? Or how, like, what are some things that would be good first steps for them?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, just to start tracking all of that, because if you're not tracking all of that, you can't read a story. You are not looking at anything. And 110% honesty, a bank account is not good enough. I'm not saying you have to get QuickBooks. I'm not saying you have to get Xero. Even a spreadsheet works, especially when you're just starting out or your business is just starting to grow. A spreadsheet works great, but just track it. Track your expenses, track your income, and then sit down and look at it every month. Just set a date on your calendar. Make it like a client meeting. It's an absolute, I have to sit down. I have to look at this. I can't avoid it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like those money dates that you were talking about. Of just like, put it in your calendar. This is a time. And like, as you do that more and more, you won't need as much time because it's already going to be like, whenever I do, because I do my own bookkeeping, and like at the beginning I was like, okay, I've got to figure all of this out and get the different categories and all that, because I'm like old school on Excel, which I probably should upgrade. But you know, I've got a system now. It's okay. We'll see. Maybe it's one of those things where I'm like, I actually should get a better system that would save me time and would be worth the $20 a month. But I don't know. We'll see. But like it takes a little bit at the beginning, but like then once you've been doing it for a while, it's just like, okay, let me boom, 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 plug these in. Okay, I'm good. I don't have to like keep figuring out where does this go and what expense is this and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, if your brain doesn't work like that, that's why there are people like me out there, because sometimes numbers just don't mesh with a creative mind.
Yes. Most of the time they do not. Which like I said earlier, like numbers just come to me very easily. Yeah. And I know that is not the case for a lot of people. So yes, if that is not you, 100% hire someone. So you are not just like in March being like, I have a month to figure out an entire year of expenses and oh yeah, I was paying people through Venmo and I had PayPal and Zelle and I did some cash payments. What was that? Was that like 400? I don't remember. And like trying to figure out all of those things.
Yes.
Having a system, having something like QuickBooks, having a bookkeeper like Samantha. This is what you need to like, one, take that off your plate to where you're not having to think about that. And tax season comes around and you're just like, cool, Samantha's got it. I am great. I don't even have to think about this. I just have to write a check at whatever. We don't write checks anymore. I'm so old. But yeah, no, Samantha, that's great. I love this. I love this conversation. Like I said, I was like very excited about just talking numbers and everything.
Yes.
Before we wrap up and let people know like where they can follow you and listen to your podcast and all that, there's part of the show that I like to do where we talk about what we're loving this week. And it can be literally anything. So what are you loving this week?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to talk about two things. So obviously you kind of brought it up already, but me and my husband are like seriously into Severance right now. And we're like,
nice.
We are binging it. So I think we're on episode 6 of season 2. So
okay. Let's see. I'm caught up and like, this is because I was like watching this back in 22.
Yeah.
So I have been one of those people that was just like 3 years waiting for season 2 to come around. Yeah. So yeah, every Friday, which last Friday, or I guess last Thursday night, my 4-year-old woke up and then came to my bed and then took my spot in the bed. And I was like, you know what? It is 4 o'clock in the morning. It's Friday. So Severance has already dropped. And I just watched it on the couch because I was like, I'm already awake. We'll just start the day early. So yeah, I'm like waiting for Friday because like as we're recording this, the season finale is this Friday. But yeah, are you're loving it? It's really good.
Yes. And my husband's big on cinematography as well. So the shot at the beginning of season 2 where it was like the one straight shot, he was like, that's so cool. And I was like, I'm like, it looks really cool to me. I'm not that into cinematography, but I'm like, it looks great.
It does look really cool.
Yeah.
And like I'm a big nerd too, and I found out that Adam Scott and Ben Stiller have a podcast now where every week they started it before season 2 dropped, so they were going through season 1 and they did like had people on and talk about their experience and some behind the scenes of different things. And they talked about that opening shot and how that was actually filmed over like 4 months or something. And they just like did a really good job of splicing everything together. But yeah, Adam Scott had to run a ton to get that. He was like, I felt like I ran like a marathon over 4 months. Just, it was anytime that there was a lull, they were either doing those like Zolly shots of in the elevator where they like transition from innie to outie.
Yeah.
Or Ben was just like, Adam, let's run. Let's grab one of the camera operators. We're just gonna run down this hall. Yeah, it's fun. I really enjoy it. It's so different.
Yes.
Than a lot of different shows, and I love like a puzzle box show where every episode I'm like, I don't know what is, and it's just like it spurs your creativity of just like, I don't know. What does this mean? Why are there goats? And like this is like so many things are just like, this is so out of place and I don't understand this. Or, oh, this makes sense now. I'm going to go rewatch season 1, episode 7 because now this explains why they said this thing. And yeah, I'm all on that like Severance TikTok too, and people with all their conspiracy theories. And it's just like every third video is just like, all right, let's talk about episode 9. I'm like,
yes.
All right, I'll watch this one too.
Yeah. No, I'm definitely excited to catch up on that. And then the other thing I've been loving, because I'm a big gamer, Steam just had their spring sale, so I bought a new farming sim called Fields of Mystria, and that's been great as well. So,
okay, awesome. Yeah, that I wanted to talk to you about gaming because I saw that on your website, or maybe it was on your Instagram or something.
Yeah,
and I was just like, I used to play like Halo and Call of Duty and stuff like that, but like. Now I've gone like super old school back to what I used to play as a kid of just like Super Mario Brothers and Donkey Kong Country, which there's a new Donkey Kong Country that's coming out for Switch, and I'm very excited about that. It'll be interesting. Okay, so what is I'm not familiar with this game. What kind of game is the farm?
Yeah. So if you've ever played Stardew Valley or heard of Stardew Valley, it's very similar, but it's like they took Stardew Valley and like amped it up. Like they took everything from Stardew Valley that I was like, I hate this about Stardew Valley, and made it better.
Okay. That's the way to do it. Those are the best games where they're like, this is a good concept. Let me actually take it up another level or 3.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Sweet. Well, that's great. Let's see. I'm loving a show. Like I said, big show TV guy.
Yes.
It's on Hulu. It's called Paradise. And it's really interesting because the promos and the trailer and everything are for a completely different show. Like that's what you think going into it. And then by the end of the first episode, you're like, this show is going to be completely different than what I thought this was going to be. And I loved it. It is definitely up my alley of kind of Well, no, I'm not going to. I don't want to spoil it because it was like a really good. I don't get caught a lot of times of just like, oh, I didn't see that coming, and I did not see that coming at the end of the first episode. So it's really good. I don't remember any of the actors' names, but there's a few. Uh, is it Jason Marsden? I don't think that's right. Maybe it is. I don't
James
know.
Marsden?
James Marsden?
Is he the guy who played Cyclops?
Maybe. I don't know. Normally I'm really good with names, but like these were all like faces that I recognized, but I was like, I don't know. I'm gonna have to IMDb this or something. But yeah, I think it's James Marsden. Yes. Yeah, because he was also like the not the dad figure, but like in Sonic,
Yes.
the new Sonic movies.
Yes. I thought I saw an ad too where the guy from like This Is Us, there's one of the main characters from This Is Us was in it or something like that.
Yes, I didn't watch that, but which I should because that I've heard so many good things. Yes, I think he's the main guy.
Okay.
I don't remember his name. It's maybe Chris something.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is really terrible. Normally I'm just like, and this person and this person. But yeah, it's really good. James Marsden is the president, which is like, that seems weird. Yeah. And yeah, it's a very interesting show. It turns into a completely different show, but also retains a lot of what like the trailer is telling you. Yeah. So same kind of vibes. It's interesting. It's on Hulu, called Paradise. I liked it. And that's what I'm loving this week. I already binged the whole thing.
Yeah, we'll have to check that out because I've looked at it, but I was like, I'm not sure. So now I'm intrigued.
Same. I was like, yeah. I mean, okay, because it seemed like like those movies like London Has Fallen or.
Yes.
Something like that. I'm like, those are good, kind of like shoot 'em up movies. It's like very action packed. You're trying to save the president and all of that. And yeah, it was just one of those. I had finished a series of something else and it popped up and I was like, I'll give it a shot. And then after the first episode, I was like, I'm watching episode 2 right now. So, but yeah. Yeah. And yeah, I'll have all that linked for everyone. I know we talked a lot about our things that we're loving, which is one of my favorite parts of this podcast. It's just like I get so many movie recommendations and books and just like new games and stuff that I should check out. And it's really like broadened a lot of my like fun entertainment stuff that just kind of like makes life more fun. So yes. I love this. But yeah, Samantha, where can people find you? Where can they follow along, listen to you on your podcast, all of that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm most active on Threads and LinkedIn. It's at Firestorm Finance on Threads. And then you can find me, Samantha Eck, on LinkedIn. Feel free to send me a connection request. I'm always open to connecting with new people. And then in terms of my podcast is called Creative Minds, Smart Money. And I talk a lot about finance topics, but I also have other people from other industries that come in and talk about things that they're good at too and how to improve your business, things like that, because I feel like it's so important to have all aspects of business when you're on a podcast. So
100%. Yeah.
Yes. So anywhere you can listen to a podcast, I'm there.
Okay, perfect. Well, yeah, and I'll have links for that too. I definitely need to get back onto LinkedIn. I was on there for a while and it was like, okay, this is very different because like LinkedIn used to be like super businessy. Yes. And just like, this is just where a bunch of corporate people go to like talk and share stock options and stuff.
Yes.
And now it has become much more of a social platform. So yeah, I need to like actually have that as a tab that I can just like go back over to. And yeah, so okay, well, sweet. Yeah, I'll connect with you on LinkedIn. This will be fun.
Awesome.
But yeah, well, thank you so much for being on the show. Like I said, I really enjoyed this. This was a lot of fun getting to chat today.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Wisdom and the Tangents podcast. As always, you can check out all the show notes at podcast.allheartphoto.com. Be sure to follow us on Instagram. The show is at wit.pod. That's witt.pod. Samantha Eck is at Firestorm Finance. And I'll have all the links to everything that we talked about in the show notes for you to follow along, for you to say hi, because we like it whenever y'all say hi. Thanks again for listening, and I will see you again next episode. Bye, y'all. This table's too tall. My table's too tall. My table's too tall. My table's too tall. I'm a banana. Where were we? Sorry, it is. The undiagnosed ADHD is running rampant this morning. Yes. This would be a great time to have notes. I was introducing Sam. Okay, yes. Yeah. So she's got a lot of experience for us, and we're just going to get into that conversation right now. Here is my conversation with Samantha Eck.